Oftentimes, we see the end product of a development, from that breathtaking beachfront property to that striking single-family home, or even that majestic townhouse or apartment. But have you ever considered the process before the product? It's another week of Home Sweet Home with me, your host, Candy. Let's take you on a journey from concept to reality of a development. Raymond Grant is the project manager for this development. Now, Raymond, where exactly are we right now?
Right now, we are in the Golden Triangle, 1 Gladstone Drive, Kingston 6.
Kingston
one
6.
Of the most
sought after
areas now for apartments especially.
Now, I want to get a complete understanding of the development of a development.
Sure.
So, the background process, all the legal things that you probably have to go through, give us a sense of what that's like.
So, this project is called Richesse Chateau. It's a French concept. Richesse meaning wealth and Chateau meaning like a grand manor or a castle. So, we're trying to replicate that. But before we got to that point, we had to first understand if the market could accommodate such a development, if the market has a demand based on the time period that the project could be delivered to be able to satisfy. So at the end of the project, at the very least, we would have potential purchasers who would actually purchase to make the project a reality. So the process of actually doing a development like this first starts with understanding the ability of getting a buyer who has an appreciation for the types of finishing that you're going to be putting in the market. Persons who want high quality, they tend to go for smaller complexes. So what it does is that it limits the amount of persons that are residing in that one space, because on a strata development, it's really more like a communal living. So the concept here is a communal living, but you have your own designated space. So we went about checking out, doing our research, understanding what were persons looking for. They wanted high ceilings, they wanted 10-foot ceilings, they wanted tray ceilings, they wanted recessed lighting, they wanted audio in their ceilings, they wanted speakers to project sound down, right? In addition to that, in terms of the finishing, in terms of the type of tiles. So what we did is that we went ahead and we actually imported tiles from Spain as samples and Egypt. So what we are actually bringing on the market now is something that has never been seen before. We have the ability to scope in terms of from a pool of potential purchasers, what they want. And what we are able to do based on that is actually bring the purchaser into the process to determine the finishing that they want on the units. So it's essentially tailor-made. So what we do is maintain the quality. Even though we bring the buyer in, we maintain the quality of the product that we are putting out.
So you've obviously done your market research.
Right.
What would you say is the importance of location in the development?
One of the most important factors for a developer is, will the developer be able to connect into the central sewage system? The National Environment and Planning Agency, they regulate how the urban space is expanded, right? Location has necessary elements to it. You have to be able to provide a certain amount of parking. You have to be able to provide a certain amount of amenity space for your purchasers. For a developer to be able to maximize on his output, he has to try and find a location where he can get connection to a central sewer. Because if he's not able to connect to a central sewer, then he has to set aside additional space on the property to do an on-site sewage treatment, which requires a certain amount of space by the authorities, so that automatically reduces the amount of units that a developer can get. So the location and the ability to have the sewage in particular gives the developer better opportunity to get returns on his investment. All right? So that is something that's very important, because for most of us as developers, we have to write to the National Environment and Planning Agency or the KCAC as well, for them to guide us as to how many units we may get on a particular lot. Because in addition to that, there is a zoning plan that NEPA has. So in terms of what we call a habitable room ratio, that is a measurement done based on the acreage. So we go from as low as, in the more rural areas, we would say like 20 habitable rooms per acre. So that's the maximum amount of habitable rooms that you may get, on average 30. But as you get closer into the heart of the city, for example in New Kingston, you can get up to 150 habitable rooms per acre. So again, the location element is very important there.
Now, living in these modern times, what kind of considerations do you have to make when building these things?
You have to understand that the market is competitive. It's not a case where you're the only developer out there. You are putting out a product. That product has to compete with other products, so you have to ensure that your product is a step ahead, or that there's a minimum bar that you set, that you maintain that throughout the process. So in doing a development, no terrazzo. We have to go for the exquisite tiles. And even if you are doing a lower end development that caters to persons of a lower median income, you still have a minimum that you'll go. For example, for our units, all our units are pre-fitted with services for laundry, air conditioning, and all the essential services, the cable, the internet, and so on. Every unit has access, right, to 400 gallons of water.
Okay, wow.
Right? That's run separately for them. So if for whatever reason the National Water Commission is down for a day or two, you can get that.
So this is the modern day version of a tank?
Essentially. Okay. But the tank is not as would be traditional.
Right, that's what I mean. It's not the...
It's this, guys, you would never know where it is.
So it's not the big black tank we see on
you will
top
never
of the
know
roof
where
there.
it is. And I won't tell you where it is, but it is on site, right? Okay. So we have that. Separately, standby generator. Typical of a lot of developments now, you will have a standby generator, but it only accommodates the common areas, lighting for the common areas. But in terms of our development that we're doing now, you will get a standby generator that goes into your unit and gives power to your refrigerator and power to your bedroom and so on. Just to note, as a developer, if he's going 4 stories or more, there's a new regulation now by the fire department And that developer now has to put in a fire suppression system in order to get his plan approved. So that's like a sprinkler system. So the more you go as a developer now, the regulations will basically be adjusted, and you have to be able to stay in the know as a developer with the local authorities to ensure that you are not breaching any of the regulations that they have set up.
Wow, that's really a lot of information, but I know we have more coming, right?
Absolutely.
So stay with us, there's more Home Sweet Home after the break.